enough with their net rankings. Let's get back into that Notre Dame NC State game because we all saw how it played out. I won't necessarily give you a recap per se. I just want to point out 4 or 5 things that I thought were the key to this game. See if this is a repeatable thing or if maybe NC State just played over their heads. Notre Dame had a bad shooting night. Let's get into the box score a little bit. I feel like the number one reason that NC State was able to beat Notre Dame in this game was because, for one, they kept their best 5 on the floor. If we look at, let me get this pulled up. There we go. Not sure why it's so cropped. We'll work with it. Now, earlier in the season, there was a lot of talk about how many players Notre Dame was missing. And myself, Gino Auriemma, some other people thought that it actually was working to their advantage because they were able to keep their best players on the floor and not really worry about rotations as much. We're seeing now that even with their full complement of players, they're keeping their best players on the floor. King played 44 minutes, Westbelt 41 minutes, Hannah played 46, Miles played 46, Sonia played 48. Now, when you're going against most other teams, that's going to work to their advantage because they're going to be pulling in their subs. They're going to be beaten up. Well, Notre Dame's going to be beaten up on your subs. You lose. NC State, besides Zam Jones playing 15 minutes, nobody else off the bench really played any significant time. We had Trygger playing 43 minutes, Brooks played 48, Aziaha James with 43, Saniya Rivers with 48 minutes, and Madison Hayes with 43. So that's number one. You have to keep your best players on the floor, unless you're Tennessee and you're going to be doing 5 in, 5 out. But other than that, you can't really have your bench players in there trying to compete against Notre Dame for too long. Your starters are going to have the stamina and they're going to have to stay out of foul trouble to stay out there on the floor. That's number one. Number two, NC State didn't foul much in this game. Even though they played a double overtime game, Notre Dame only attempted 10 free throws. They went 8 for 10. NC State, they had 26 free throws. They went 24 for 26, so they won the free throw battle. Kept themselves out of foul trouble, kept Notre Dame off the line. That's huge. Make them make their shots. Notre Dame is normally a really good 3-point shooting team. It's crazy how good they are. I think they're over 40%, it was said in the game, for the season. That's ridiculous for an entire team to be over 40% for a season. It's hard for one player to do that. So in this game, they shot 26%. I mean, it's not a horrible shooting game for a lot of teams, to be honest with you. 7 for 27 from the 3-point line. A lot of teams, that's a regular decent game. NC State, they didn't necessarily light it up. They were 8 for 21, 38%. That's pretty good. But the most important thing is that Notre Dame, I don't know if it was NC State's defense or they just had a bad shooting night. Who knows? How repeatable this is, I don't know. But they kept them to 26% from the 3-point line, and that's huge. Olivia Miles was the worst offender, 4 for 13. Sonia Citron, she was only 1 for 4. And Hidalgo, 2 for 7. So that's the big one for me, is that they kept them within reason. They didn't let them go into the 40% range. Now, Zoe Brooks was good in this game, but she didn't necessarily play over her head. She was 9 for 20 in this game. The free throws, being 14 for 14 from the 3-point line, from the free throw line, that definitely helped her game out. But other than that, nobody really played over their heads. This was a very repeatable performance for NC State. Tilda Trygger being 6'6", Notre Dame didn't really have anybody that could stop her inside. Kate Koval is who they were going with earlier in the season. She's more of a defensive presence and less of an offensive presence than Maddie Westbeld. But with that switch now, going to Westbeld in the starting lineup, they're more vulnerable inside. So having somebody like Trygger that can go down there, go 8 for 9, and 2 for 2 from the 3-point line as well. But that presence down low, they couldn't do anything with. So if you're a team that actually has size down low right now, and they're going with Westbeld instead of Koval, you have an advantage there against Notre Dame. You have to go to it. Secondly, is Liatu King has been their X factor all season long when it comes to the bigs. 16 points, 14 rebounds, 4 steals, and 2 blocks in this one. Now, if you're a team like, let's say, USC, who they beat, and you have Juju Watkins, Kiki Iriafen, and Kennedy Smith as your top 3 scorers, most of the time they're matching Hannah, Olivia, and Sonia. So who's going to match what Liatu King is doing? They don't really have a fourth player that's going to come in and put up the kind of numbers that King is. So they're going to have to really outplay those 3. And that's where Notre Dame ends up beating you because they have 4 solid players out there that's going to kill you. In this one, NC State had a player that could match her. Not Aziaha James, Saniya Rivers. They had Saniya Rivers out there. She's a guard, but she's around the same size as King. She put up 14 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. A lot of teams, they don't have that. They just don't have that fourth player. When you have a Zoe Brooks going for 33, when you have Aziaha James going for 20, when you have Madison Hayes at 13 and Tilda Trygger at 19, they don't have that fourth player like Notre Dame does. And Liatu King is very consistent. She's going to be there every single game. So that's huge. You have to find somebody that can come in and match that contribution. And so to me, that's really where it tipped the scale in North Carolina's favor, North Carolina State, excuse me. Because yes, you have to have somebody that can match that big three in the backcourt for Notre Dame, but you also have to have somebody that can match those two that they put out there for Notre Dame. West Bell, with her not being a top 4 or 5 option and her being mostly an offensive player, you can take advantage of that if you have somebody like Tilda Trygger because she's only getting up 7 shots and she's not necessarily a defensive stalwart. You have to go ahead and take advantage of that, and then also have somebody that can match King the way that Saniya Rivers did in this game. Good luck. Good luck for a lot of teams because they're not going to have that. But this was a really good recipe for a win, and I think that this is a nightmare team for Notre Dame to have to face in the tournament if they do.